All right. See for peeps to jump in. Looks like Bitcoin just got rejected off the momentum. So we could be coming down to start retapping this previous value area low and previous value area high in conflict with each other alongside with the VWAP here. So let's see how that goes. We got 4 people in so far. What's up, guys? So let it load. Wait for some people to get in. Oh, what a wild drop. Trip, how's it going, man? Hope you're having a great day, man. Free Breaker, what's up? Good morning, Brett. Shanti, what's up? It's Big Moon. You might be new, man. I don't recognize your name. Or your handle, at least. Good morning. How are you guys feeling about the drop? Anybody catch that last night? Oh, man, I was watching it for a while. I was kind of hopeful that we would come down to this area of confluence right here. Let's move this out of the way. We had like the 50-day EMA, the 200 at the previous value area low here, but we didn't end up. Kind of got attached to the previous point of control and made our way back up. I still think we're coming back down here first before we can think about like potential reversals back up again. He likes David's Moon Trades event. Maybe, yeah. I guess this would be one of those situations where it would look kind of weird seeing like a drop like this on a full moon for David. It's typically like, you guys can look into this, but if you back test it, you can see that whenever we have a full moon, the probability of us getting like increased volume is insanely high, and it's usually bullish volume. We usually get a run to the upside statistically. Some traders and some investors associate like full moons and stuff like that to luck, so they're more likely to invest during those periods. Okay. Yeah, we had some wild news last night, and in conflicts with that, like I know yesterday during our live, we were talking about this downtrending momentum here, right? And when it broke past this neckline, we could prepare for longs. Like the community and I were like watching it for a while. If I go back down to the 3-minute time frame, this was the key level that we were watching right here. I gotta change the color of those. That's too bright. Man, this is the key level we're watching right here. This is the 15-minute level that we wanted to watch for a break for a change of character occurrence. We got it, but we waited for a retrace because we were like being right in the face of the VWAP and having a sell wall like right here. Luckily, we kind of like stayed out until we wanted to have that pullback. And in conflict with all that too, like we didn't like the stop loss guard that we were given. If we were looking at like the 15-minute time frame during that confirmation, go back. Our only stop loss guard was like way down here after this break. So you either want to have like a retest. We either wanted to have a retest where we hit the VWAP, pulled back, hit the neckline, then got a higher high, and then we could have used that as our stop loss guard to run up towards our target. But instead, when we came back to retest before providing that higher high, we got further down. So at that point, we could dissect things down to like the 3-minute time frame to find a safe entry. And here, you get the Fibonacci pull from this low to this high. You want to do low to highs in an uptrend. And we established that we're going to be going in an uptrend based on the 15-minute time frame, and we're dissecting on the 3-minute time frame. And we found that we could see a retracement down to the confluence level of the 618 and the 786 alongside a previous value area low from historical price action that we recently defined a range off of this level. So there's lots of confluence there, but I'm not one to limit order in a Fibonacci level. So what I want to look for is a lower time frame change of character occurrence. And unfortunately, with the 3-minute time frame, like we prefer like to have it here, right? We get like a lower low, and then we break the neckline, get the change of character, jump in, or like, maybe off the top of it. But we had another situation where we had like a high volatility gap between our change of character level. So if we wanted to jump in, we had to wait for this break for well, at least if you want to do it based on like a 3-minute change of character rule off the fib level. And that's how I usually trade when I'm using fibs. So it kind of left us to the point where we're again dealing with the VWAP right in our face. So I jumped in instead here, saw like crazy transfer over to Kraken for like 10,000. Well, Andrew knows about it. I think Andrew knows about it. There was a 10,000 Bitcoin transfer over to Kraken, and right after that transfer, you see the price actually start to plummet, and then 3 hours after that, we got news on war, so it enhanced the volatility. The moment we got acceptance into this valley area here from this, right now it's the supply concern, but at the time we had like this regression trend or this like bear pennant forming, more like a descending triangle, but we had that candle close below. I took the chance, and we had a good stop loss guard here off the supply concern. Really fast move down. And I was expecting us to bounce here, and I was also expecting us to potentially bounce around here, but we didn't even slow down. So when you have your levels where you're marking like key areas of confluence where you think things are going to reverse, just because there are levels where you think that's going to bounce doesn't mean you should just ape in with a limit order, guys. You should wait for like at least like a change of character on your your core time frame that you trade on based on your rules, and that way you're not like buying at your levels and then it keeps on going down. That's how you lose a lot of money in the space. So I'm still thinking that we're going to come back down here, retest this, grab the liquidity that was just added. We technically have more reasoning to come down right now based on just the local structure. We have like this basically descending channel here that's built liquidity on the downside, but kept taking liquidity from the upside, right? If we look at the current posture of the structure, we got from the impulse move high to where we are, we had a bit of a head hit here. Then we started seeing it fractalize that way from high to low, hit another head again. But now we're starting to lose this momentum. We got about 2 minutes left on this candle, but if we get our candle close back above here, we could come up and claim this high. But I'll be preparing for shorts if we end up going high enough where we end up hitting this 30-minute order block right here. We have the value area high, and we have a supply concern right here. So we have 3 forms of confluence just by looking at the charts without even looking at the data on like the order books or anything like that, that we have a bunch of confluence here that we could get a rejection here. So let's get that marked. And send it back. There we go. Okay, so between basically 95,835 and 106,460, we have an area of concern where we could prepare for an opposing change of character. So price action comes up, hits a head off this, and then we get a change of character occurrence. It'd be a really good spot to prepare for shorts. And then we can target, honestly, the measurable target would be down here, but we should watch our way, our path along the way. We got to watch out for the VWAP along the way. The previous value area low here, because this is technically the value area right here. If we zoom out, we can see where that value area came from. We can find out how strong it is. It's a relatively decent value area, honestly. So from this value area high to this value area low is a core area of interest. Price action is going to kind of be magnetized to it. So, but I do still think that we're going to deviate a little bit further away and grab that liquidity, and hopefully in confluence with that, get a bounce off of the 50-day in this previous value area low here, so we can prepare for another trade to the upside. So preparing for shorts in the immediate short term, and then after that, measurable targets hit, we'll be preparing for longs around here. Glad you got that short last night. Congrats. Thanks, man. There was just some things that was lacking that I didn't make it as a signal. So I'm glad that I got that. I missed like yesterday was the mess. I didn't take this trade. I really wanted to, but basically we were sitting together in the trade hunting call from like 9:30 a.m. until like close to 1 p.m. waiting for the setup. Some people got in during the retracement, like it matched their rules. Like Toe Rogan did really well. Congratulations, man! If you're watching, yeah, some members jumped in and took that long, but I had to go to the school and pick up my daughter. She wasn't feeling too good. She was totally faking it, guys. She wasn't sick. Yeah. All right, we're getting a tweezer reaction a bit here. Let's see how this goes. Good morning, Wave Cypher. How you doing, man? Wave Cypher's built some cool indicators. I'm checking them out today. Might be throwing them into the course. So Andrew is saying he's waiting on Solana to take the April 30th level. Didn't do it June 5th level. Let's do it this time. Then bounce, of course. Yeah, nice. All right. So yeah, it's a bit of a waiting game right now. We got price action. This is kind of what our pathing that we're predicting. We're going to claim this high for anyone who's just jumping in. We got a confluence here for potential shorts. I'll be hoping for an opposing change of character on the 15-minute time frame, but if we get it on the 5, I might take it depending on what the structure looks like. But yeah, lots of confluence here to prepare for rejection. Just make sure you wait for the structural guide into jumping into the short. Don't just jump into short with the limit order. Okay, unless you have rules that allow that. I don't have rules that allow that. Every time I try backtesting rules like that, the win rate's pretty low. Yeah, here, wait for the structural guide, like basically the change of character occurrence. You'll have a stop loss guard because of it, and that way your capital is protected, and we can start targeting down here. Lots of liquidity to be taken from this recent pullback here. Then if we get that lower low, we'll be targeting around, yeah, where the liquidity basically ends, but in confluence with that, the 50-day EMA and the previous value low, where we're then going to start preparing for longs if we get the structure to define the reversal. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin. Now that we've gone through Bitcoin and we know what we're kind of preparing for, during this time we could look at some altcoins and see what might work well in confluence with Bitcoin's positioning. I'm looking for the confirmation on the 5. I would prefer it on the 15, but I'll take it on the 5 if the volume is too big. If we have too much volume to dictate a safe entry using the 15, then I'll take the 5-minute. Did the war news have a big effect on the market? So like news, so it's kind of hard to like the more you trade, the more you realize you're going to be able to front run the news. There's like information where you can end up getting structure like this to define a drop already. Oh, thank you, babe. My wife brought me in some iced coffee. Okay. But yeah, so we were saying before, we had like Kraken bring in around like 10,000 Bitcoin around this area, and we started a massive downtrend ever since. On top of that, we have like the price action will guide you into like what the news is likely saying. So you technically don't need the news to help guide you into knowing when to jump into a trade, because the price action structure will tell you too. And like right here, we had like this descending channel right after coming in from a downtrend, and we had acceptance into the valley area here, like a low time frame break of structure, and even like a 15-minute close to being a break of structure. But yeah, during this moment was a great time to short. We got acceptance to this valley area, and we start targeting this valley area low, which I was hoping for a bounce off this area, but kind of melted down lower, which actually will help with confluence for a retest to the 50 level if we want to come back down to grab that liquidity. But news, you'll notice that it just enhances what these charts are already telling you. Like the volatility just picks up. Retail has the largest. They're the ones that have more reactions to news than like the market makers do. The whole Kraken thing makes me feel like there was some insider information there, because it was before a large amount of the news started coming out about everything. So yeah, let's look at, okay, so we got a request from David C to look at AVAX. I already have it open here, so let's take a look. AVAX looks like it got pummeled as well. Everything's probably gotten hurt from that drop. Oh wait, this is my AVAX chart. It's just AVAX lesson chart. Here we go. June 5th, really? It's been that long since we looked at it? It doesn't feel right. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, this is the last time we were looking at it was here. Being at a valley area low. That'll be a good spot to like prepare for long, so you get some confidence there. We got, we deviated a little bit down below it, actually quite a bit below it, before returning back up. Right now, we're back down here. Did we grab that low? Well, we didn't. Let's see, mark this low here, guys. The magnet tool. There we go. There's a possibility this was taken on other exchanges, but from what we're looking at on the Binance chart, it looks like we added more liquidity there rather than taking any. So that gives us more reasoning to come back down and grab that, which then we could prepare for. Yeah, that pullback could help us to find a new key level here for a potential strong reversal to the upside for AVAX. In terms of like positioning, it's very similar to Bitcoin, other than the fact that its core area, like the supply concern that we have, is quite a bit of distance away relative to like Bitcoin's, right? Like Bitcoin's positioning, we're almost there, right? And the positioning from where we are from its supply concerns like 5%. So like the confluence that I would use to prepare for a reversal if you're trading AVAX alongside Bitcoin's moves, because AVAX has a ton of Bitcoin pairing liquidity. So if Bitcoin drops, AVAX is almost guaranteed to drop along with it because of its BTC to AVAX pairing liquidity. So that relative positioning, I would recommend like preparing for a short at this previous value low. If we get that climb back up, we could see there's, because of this, right? We know that we have some relative weakness though. So it could drop prior to Bitcoin's drop, or might not even reach that high. Because as Bitcoin's trying to get up, AVAX is like getting further down below its VWAP. Let's get this cleared up. Let's zoom in on the 15 because we're on the 30 right now. You got a bit of like a, I guess we can cut through. This is a 30-minute trend line, so it's cutting through the price action a bit. Here we got, basically we're get this like descending channel. And grabbing liquidity from the downside, stacking more to the upside. So short term, this is looking like it's positioning itself for a bullish move. but it might be short-lived. It might only reach to the top of the structure. The downside with the regression trends, like the longer they take, typically the less impactful move it has to the upside. It just ends up grabbing all liquidity to the top of its structure and then starts to reverse. Well, that's assuming we even get that break. I won't be trading within this internally, but if I were to make a recommendation, I'll be patient and wait in this zone here for shorts. You'd have probably a higher probability of not getting stopped out, higher probability of a stronger reversal, as well as like down here, if you want to prepare for longs around like 1845. Now that we know that we have this low here that is yet to be taken, and we have this low here that added to liquidity below that area, our probability of getting attracted to this area. Think of the market makers, right? Like where would they want to try to get in? And because they need areas of high amounts of liquidity to jump in with the least amount of slippage and price impact. So if you hit that drawdown here, I'll prepare for longs in this area, whether it be an SFP off these lows or change of character occurrence, whatever syncs with your rules. From here to here, we can draw a fixed range. It's young. It's not fully developed. We don't even have a demand or a supply concern to pull from. And we technically don't have like a 15-minute change of character occurrence. This is all internal. All right, so that is AVAX. I would be like, if I were to pick between prepare for long or prepare for short, I'd be patient enough to have the higher probability of winning by preparing for the long, because we know there's stacked liquidity there. Okay, so that is AVAX. Looking back at Bitcoin, we're starting to get a bit of a tweeter reaction. We have 3 minutes left, or about 4 minutes left in this 15-minute candle. So if this closes below this level, below this green candle here, it's going to engulf, and an engulfing tweezer top is like a type of confirmation by itself. Like a lot of people trade off of this and short off of them using the top of them as the stop loss guard, and they'll target like the local areas of concern and see what kind of R&R is available. If there's no good R&R available, then you just don't take it. Like you can target like down here, but again, I'd rather have the positioning up here. Good morning, nonstop TY. Nonstop, thank you. We got a request for everything except hype was affected. That makes me want to take a peek at hype. We have the hype open already. Okay, so hype did get a little impacted, bro. It had relative strength yesterday, that's for sure. We were talking yesterday during the live about this like double bottom positioning and how it's possible that we could try to attack these highs again. And we were pretty damn close to sweeping that high. A lot of traders are probably waiting on a short and wanting that to be taken first. And it not being taken, I bet like a lot of people just didn't take the short, which is completely understandable. I'd feel that too. This is the KuCoin chart, though. This might not be a really dependable one for doing TA on it because they have typically fairly poor liquidity. But yeah, that double bottom worked out really well. You could have used this momentum as a guide to help tell you when to prepare for an exit. And I think so some people might have exited here, seeing this, feeling a bit FOMO, but realizing it's not going to be that big of a deal. You got a really good capture. And we have a good double bottom entry to front run this neckline break too. But now, looking back to where we currently are, we're definitely building a bear flag. That's without a doubt. We have uptrending momentum here. We are starting to approach this supply concern. We already started tapping into it. So right here. Yeah, this is a good area of confluence to prepare for shorts. Okay. We wicked, pretty much mitigate the whole thing. So think of this like chipping at armor, right? And as you like mitigate more and more of this armor, this is pretty much all we have left to know that if there are sellers still remaining, there only might be sellers like left at the top of this wick, and top of the fact that we probably induce some liquidity to rest up here as well. But I'll be preparing, yeah. Let's get the trend line drawn here. We're starting to get squeezed. Our apex is at pretty much at the top of this short confluence zone. The key area of interest technically is here for a change of character occurrence on the 5-minute. What is this? Oh, this was for like that previous short. Okay, so that's the technical area. Now, this is you can treat this as a bear flag. You can treat this as a rising wedge. It doesn't matter really, because like all formations technically do is they tell you a statistical bias based on how liquidity is resting, right? Either to the upside or the downside. And as we get closer and closer to the apex point, it becomes more and more relevant for you to look at the liquidation heat map charts to find out where's most of the weighted liquidity. And then that can help you increase your probability of being right on knowing the direction of its break. So if there's more liquidity resting on the top side than there is on the bottom side, then we're more likely to break to the upside. And if in confluence with that, we are in like a bull pennant having momentum of buyers going to the upside, then that also increases your probability of being right of a continuation to the upside. But no matter what, you should always be waiting for the actual structural confirmation. And in this case, it's way down here, but we could end up having a better positioning if price action came up. We could have a better key level around here, for example, if that we get a different level to prepare for a 5-minute change of character occurrence. So think of like what's going on in the background when you're looking at formations like this, and it'll help you get an understanding of the psychological behavior and the liquidity that's resting, where liquidity is resting, where is it being taken. So it can all help you with your measurable targets. And the technical target for the structure when it confirms is down at the bottom where liquidity ends. So we target here. We could have continuations, but this is where you could target. We also could have reversals prior to that, but this is where you target. So you just got to prepare for those warning signs, like the posing change of characters at other key levels that could warn you to take some profits or close your trade entirely. So that's hype. And sorry for the rant. We got HBAR. Next request from Cookie. Okay, let's take a look, Cookie. Let's pull up. We have an HBAR chart. On the 9th. Okay. What is this? HBAR. Okay. So we had was it a 4-hour chalk level? Yeah, 4-hour change of character. And we hit our head off of the previous supply concern right here. And it couples that, like the value area low basically just knocked our heads down on this continuation. And we all know how much this impact, this HBAR is fairly influenced by Ethereum's movements. See, previous value low. Yes, hit our head off that. We had an opposing like hourly change of character occurrence here. So a huge warning sign to get out if you're in on any longs. Okay, we just grabbed these lows. I want to look back a little bit on HBAR, see if there's. Okay, we have some liquidity here that was just taken too. We're building a descending. We got descending momentum here, buyer's momentum. Get liquidity resting down here and down here. I don't think we'll go to 12 cents, but it's definitely in the cards. We're getting closer and closer to that pooling liquidity. Like based on the liquidity that we just grabbed, we could have a short-term reversal. Looking at the lower time frames. Yeah, right now we don't have very much structure to go off of. It looks a lot like a bear flag like everything else. It's coming up to a previous value area low, a lot like AVAX is, right? Upturning momentum here. And yes, we could come up and grab this high in confluence with hitting our previous value area low. where we then prepare for potential shorts. Yeah, so its positioning is looking a lot like everything else. We can see some relative strength here, or relative weakness a little bit, but yeah. So I'd prepare for shorts around here, 15,752. Wait for that posting change of character, loss of momentum, and then target these lows here. And if we come back down to these lows and we get potential SFP or posting change of character here, we can target to the top of the range and treating this as a new value area during that time. Okay, so that's HBAR. Not much to go on with HBAR compared to everything else. If I were to pick between these two, HBAR and Hype, if you're looking for a trade, Hype is more structurally like put together, more clear vision of target and liquidity than HBAR is. So pick your higher quality setups. And of all the ones that we looked at, between all the assets, even Bitcoin, Hype has the best posture for a trade. It's not VWAP I'm worried about, but hey, Kyle, if you don't mind charting a degen 19 million hyperliquid meme coin, Buddy is looking quite interested. Liquidity and volume, quite good. I don't mind doing TA on meme coins. It's just it's the fart coins and all that stuff that I'm like, gosh, I don't want to put that on my screen. All right, so it's called Buddy. All right, let's see. We can look at Buddy, but we had a request first for SPX from Khan. Sorry if I say your name wrong. So let's take a look at SPX. We don't have an SPX chart, but we can take a look. Oh, we got a bearish engulfing response here on the 15-minute time frame for Bitcoin. So like they're literally, yeah, this is a whole form of confluence on its own whenever you see these at specific key levels. If its positioning was up here, I would be taking it. Or if its positioning was inverse, like upside down, put down here, we had like a bullish engulfing candle, I'd probably be taking it. But it doesn't mean it doesn't match some of your rules, guys. It's just not doesn't match mine. Try to be consistent with what you do with your trades. So SPX. Okay, so let's look at it on Bybit. We charted this recently. So it looks like SPX lost the momentum that we were talking about last time we looked at it. Right here. We double topped with equal highs. We had our hourly change of character occurrence here. We're looking at the hourly chart right now. We have really steep downtrending momentum ever since the drop. On my a little bit laggy sec here. Yeah, super steep momentum right now. But we're coming down to more macro momentum that's been holding it up since 47 cents. This momentum's been holding it up. So we're coming down to a key area of interest in confluence of a previous point of control right here, where we could get a bounce, but I think it might be short-lived. At this point, if we get that opposing change character, the moment that you do, you have a valid reason to use a Fibonacci pull from this high to the low. During that change of character, that's when the low is actually established. So don't try to like, you could trail your Fibonacci if you want, but you can't confirm it as a safe use case yet until we have the opposing change of character. So from here to here, you could pull it to find out what you could potentially be preparing for. But until you get that posting change character to find the actual low, you can't like trust this fib pull yet. But yeah, if we get the posting change character here, I'll be preparing for exhaustion around here and confluence with the hourly order block that's resting there too. So that's what I'll be waiting for. It looks like it's it got some relative strength. It's not looking like everything else. Even though it's going down like everything else, it's like positioning is relatively unique. So I'd recommend like watching this one too, between Hype and SPX on the assets that we looked at today. Like these two are looking pretty clean. Oh, the 15-minute structure. That looks like Fibonacci heaven. Yeah. Any fib traders out there? That one's front run a little bit. So I'm just curious. I'm always looking for assets to find for like fib trading. And I think that this one might be one of those ones that I keep an eye out on. Like look at this. Like this is insane. You're trading that like easy mode. But yeah, diving in, what I would like to see in a perfect world is a lower low to establish this level as a key level for a change of character occurrence on the 15-minute time frame. We'll mark it here. There we go. So yeah, basically just need the lower low. You could potentially get a front run opportunity to this break using the local wicks. You could potentially have like a 15-minute SFP. If you want to prepare for the way, there's different types of SFP formats. But my favorite type is when you have range bound price action around like here, around these bodies. And we come up, grab liquidity, and that candle comes back up and closes back inside that active range. And then during that moment, you can enter along and target these highs. And if we break the highs, then you have a more macro confirmation for a reversal. If we don't, you listen to the warning signs. Because we're looking at the 15-minute, it's a higher time frame relative to like, I'd recommend like dissecting on a 3-minute. You could go in on the 15-minute SFP. You could go on a lower time frame SFP, but you should use a 3-minute to see if we have an opposing change of character here to listen to any warning signs to get out early if you have to. Or if you have the proper R&R, you can just exit here and then jump back in after this reversal confirms. I'm hoping that the VWAP positioning catches up a little bit. So if price action stays down low for a little bit longer, that the VWAP will catch up and come in line with the neckline so that you can have the confluence of this neckline break and the VWAP break here. Otherwise, if you start seeing like sell walls for SPX at the VWAP using the order books, then you should wait for it to hit, give you a pullback in case that pullback's too strong to like come down and stop you out, and then get that break of structure for a continuation, and then use this as your stop loss guard, especially if you don't have a good stop loss down here. All right, cool. So that's SPX. Appreciate you showing that. I should probably make an SPX chart. Let me just mark this properly here. But yeah, I'm going to make a chart for this. Make a copy. SPX against USDT. And sometimes it'll jump me to Bitcoin. Yeah, it just jumped me to Bitcoin. So I just got to find SPX again. Bybit. There we go. All right. And we'll save, sharing, copy. Anyone who wants the SPX chart to help them with their trading, this is it here. That's the link in the chat, in the comments there. Anyone who's watching from Twitter, if you want, it's much easier for me to communicate on YouTube through the chat. So if you want to get access to the TradingView chart that I just posted to help you prepare for this potential trade, if you're interested in trading this asset, then the links will be here. So go back to Bitcoin, switch over. we're starting to grab these lows. Yeah, so right now we're at the confidence level that we're at right now that could potentially induce a move back up here is the fact that we're at a like previous value high, active value area low, and the VWAP right here, and grabbing the liquidity from this low. So it could induce us to stay range bound a little bit longer, or even potentially move us up here. But if this fails, then down we go over here. Kyle, in the clairvoyant chat in the Discord, you got spammers. Man, there's like buttheads. Yeah, that's an open chat right now. I gotta close it. Yeah, this guy trying to scam people again. Let's give this person a big boot. Bam. Okay. All right. I got him. Appreciate it. Oh, there's more. Man, what is going on? Well, I will deal with them right after the live. I don't want to take you guys' time. I'll do that after the live here together. But yeah, watch out for those guys. Fucking rude. That's why most of our chats are closed. They just all the scammers have to ruin it for us. Kyle, I cannot find Buddy in TradingView, only in Dex Screener and Hyperliquid Dex, so maybe not possible to do TA. Oh, it's definitely possible to do TA, man. We can do it. I have Dex Screener always open watching Karma anyways. Wait for this to load. And Karma didn't get really impacted by the crazy drop. We actually pumped a little bit. If we go to Dex Screener, for anyone who is new to Dex Screener, think of it like a decentralized charting system. And it also shows you a little bit of honesty on how their market caps are developed based on their liquidity pools. So we're looking for Buddy. Let's see. There's probably about 500 buddies, but we'll see. There's All Right Buddy, and then there's Creator Buddy. Do you know which one we're looking at, man? We got one on Hype, so that matches what you were saying before. So it's probably All Right Buddy. Polygon Network. Hyper EVM. It looks like it's on multiple networks. But looking at the one with the $1 million worth of liquidity valued at 18, 1.8 cents. All right, so here we've got All Right Buddy. So let's go into the 4-hour. This thing's not bad. Let's see, like market structure wise, we've got uptrending momentum here. We pull a fixed range volume profile. Let's see if I got my settings up right. 24. It might be too sensitive to use 200. No, it's not too sensitive. Okay. All right. Yeah. 200 row size. For anyone who uses fixed range volume profiles, 200 to 250 is like the ideal row size for your fixed range volume profiles. And value area volume, I would keep it. It's usually set to default at 70. After a lot of back testing with the fixed range volume profile, 70 is like actually the best. Usually when it comes to like indicators, default settings, they try to set you up for failure, but that's the one thing that wasn't set for failure was the, here we go, we got this. All right, let's mark our value area low. Or at least the developing value area. We get it in white, and we'll do the same thing here. Okay. So with the the active price action right now, we have this massive ascent. Like it's honestly doing extremely well. It keeps legging up and using previous range-bound price action as support. We can see we came down, we tapped the uptrending momentum and confluence with like getting a bounce off of, it looks like it could have been, no, I didn't tap the POC, but we did go into the value area high on our support. And now we're at the active value area low. So it evolved to here from the price action. So we're at the value area low. This is typically where you prepare for longs. Now I don't know much about this, but if it's built on hyper swap, there's a high probability that it's influenced by Solana's price action. So if it is, I would double check that by looking at CoinMarketCap and finding out what its pairing liquidity looks like. But if it has a lot of Solana pairing liquidity, then use a Solana chart alongside this one to see if we have some confluence. But yeah, we could deviate lower to retap this level one more time. Prepare for a change of character occurrence and ride our way back up. This is the 4-hour time frame, so you can definitely front run that on lower time frames. We came up here. Okay. So we need, yeah, we definitely want to have that lower low. So we can establish a better level on the hourly for a change of character occurrence there. I don't think you could SFP trade this thing. Like based on its candle structure, you might not get those kind of opportunities. But yeah, this is a zone of confluence here where you prepare for long. So you just got to make sure you wait for that change character occurrence. Be safe. And then you can target the opposite side of this value area up here at 0.2736 while being extremely mindful of the POC supply concern confluence right here at 0.2201. If you end up having to be forced out around here, just listen to the market and take some profits or close your full trade. And then if we don't get that, if we get that continuation instead with the break of structure, then you can start targeting these highs. Well, yeah, that's hype. That's Buddy. I hope that helps you out, man. I can't share this chart, unfortunately, because it's not transferable. But yeah, you could definitely do TA on Dex Screener. Going back to Bitcoin, we're tapping that VWAP. So paired with hype. Okay. Well, hype's paired with Solana. Virtuals, Ethereum. Okay. You can look at, yeah, Brandon requested Ethereum. What was the first request with virtuals? I'm assuming, yeah, Richmond, that's him. Yeah, he's always here for virtuals. Okay, let's take a peek. Virtuals on the 12th. So we looked at this yesterday. What we were looking at though. There's that. Okay, there might not have been anything for us to trade off of. So I don't have any new levels. This is like the older one. Can delete that. We bounced off the 50-day EMA right here. We hit our head recently off the previous value area low. Why do we have two back-to-back value area highs here? Oh, we have a macro one, I believe. Let's zoom out first, find out. Virtuals is doing really good, like step ladder trading. If we, okay, so it's previous value high and this local, more local one that's actually young. So this young one I'm going to delete because it doesn't have that much actually influence over the market. I can delete this entirely, honestly. Okay, so we're building a potential neckline here. If we come up, grab liquidity, prepare for a potential SFP off these lows. Right now I'm looking at the hourly time frame. So prepare for a potential SFP here. Right? Grab that SFP, then you target these highs at 188.47. If you don't get the SFP, you might be able to get on the late entry for a potential change of character occurrence, depending on what the structure looks like at the time. I'm assuming that we could double bottom here. It doesn't mean that we will, but we have confluence saying that we could reverse here. Zoom in on the 15. Yeah, lower time frames, we just lost the VWAP right here. We just got a little bit more bearish. So we come down, yeah, prepare for a potential SFP or a low time frame change of character occurrence like we had here when we broke this level. This would have been a really good potential long, especially like just bouncing off the 50-day like that. Like the first thing you'd look at is where's the supply concern? And that would be right here, right? So you'd be targeting this high if you jumped in on this change of character occurrence. Yeah, so you mark that you'd at that time. Like there's some like it looks like Virtuals is kind of like ahead of the game when it comes to like tapping its supply concern. So it's got had some relative strength, I guess, during that moment. And there we go. All right. So kind of the same kind of thing that we're preparing for from here. We want something like that to happen again. And then you want to target the same area that we targeted before. We have resting liquidity from here. We have resting liquidity from here. So along the way up, you just got to watch this level, but this is where you would be targeting. Back up in this area where we prepare for potential exits. Yeah, that is pretty much it. And then the other scenario is trying to get in on the SFP from down these levels. So mark the wick and then mark the body. And preferably we have range bound price action here before we grab the liquidity, close back inside that range, enter long, and that could be a front run to a potential change character occurrence to target that area here. So that's virtuals. Hope that helps, man. We've got Shanti. I love finding lost money in my pockets. I have a cousin, and she had this habit like when she was a kid where she would hide money in like throughout the house because I think she was afraid of it getting taken by her brother or something. But yeah, she'd hide money, and she recently just found like I think it was like $800 or $1,000 in one of the her DVD cases that she put it in there like years ago. So I think yeah, if anyone understands that feeling, finding like random money, it's her. If you have time, cash, please, Kyle. Yeah, we could do that. We could do so. We got Ethereum request, and then we can do cash for sure. Oh, Polygon as well. So Ethereum, Polygon, then we've got the cash request. So let's go to Ethereum. I'm curious about Ethereum too after yesterday. I didn't look at it since the crazy drop. Yeah, okay, now it's making more sense why there's such a gap between assets and its supply concern. A lot of things move alongside Ethereum's pairing liquidity. The chain influence is absolutely insane from Ethereum towards alts. And you can see that crazy distance we have from its supply concern on the 15-minute time frame. And a large majority of alts are doing the same kind of thing. We have a uptrending momentum guide here. Did we grab that recent high? We didn't, but we got a tweezer reaction, double top, failed to create a higher high. We just got to change a character occurrence. Getting below the VWAP. So same kind of story. Unfortunately, like the level that I was preparing for with Bitcoin has been front run. And obviously with Ethereum, you can't use the supply concern as a area of interest right now. Maybe down the road, if we get past our local high, then we would have to watch this area, but we didn't make it there this time. And yeah, bear flag, measurable target, watch where the liquidity ends. I don't think we'll get a continuation past this area. This is a pretty decent macro value area that we are ranging in for a while now, for about a month. So it's not too macro, but a month is pretty impactful. When you have those kind of valley areas, they will help support the price action if we were to like crash or pump into it. But yeah, we're in an area of confluence where we want to definitely prepare for long. And our target confluence of resistance would be the value area high alongside with that 15-minute supply concern that we were just talking about. We just grabbed a bunch of liquidity. We can delete that. But yeah, I was definitely preparing for hopefully a sweep of liquidity from this low. Maybe get an SFP. And again, target the local highs. If we get a break of this high, hopefully a change of character. And then we start targeting this level right here at 2,650. But I definitely, especially if you're asleep, you want to front run this level with a limit order if you fell asleep jumping into that trade. It's a high probability of a rejection there. But yeah, I'll get your long goggles on, your bull goggles on, and prepare for longs around here with Ethereum. And if you're preparing for longs in Ethereum and you're trading alts as well, then use Ethereum as confluence to help guide you into that long. When it confirms it's long and your alt is yet to confirm it, then you can just kind of acts like a crystal ball preparing you for a potential move. It's possible to be so good at hiding money that by the time you find it again, the money's worthless because of inflation. Yeah. Yeah. Sad truth. It's like, oh, this $1,000, I could have like done so much with it, but now I can barely afford groceries with it. I get what you're saying, man. Not with Bitcoin. The more Bitcoin you have, the more you can buy in the future. Okay, so we looked at Ethereum. Now we have a Polygon request. So we'll look at Polygon or MATIC, whatever you want to call it. Last time I looked at was January 6th. I think this chart might be broken because they rebranded for the 50,000th time. Okay. All right, we're good. It works. Not being salty at all. I kind of boycotted. I considered the death of Polygon after we lost this level. Like I stopped holding it. I stopped supporting it. I stopped trading it. If we zoom out on the macro, this isn't the full chart, of course, because they rebranded. I think this is the third time they move stuff around. But here, this is a 730-day legacy support that was holding it up. And out of all the network tokens, I think MATIC was probably one of the worst performing ones this cycle. I jumped in on some trades here, and I ended up having to do inverse perpetual trading to lower my average for MATIC. Because when you do inverse perpetual trading, you're risking the asset to earn more of the same asset. So if you're trading Bitcoin using coin margin or inverse perpetual, whatever you want to call it, because they rebranded that too. So if you're trading Bitcoin, you'd earn more Bitcoin. But if you lose your trades, you lose your Bitcoin, right? So it's kind of the same thing that most people are used to when you're trading stable coins and you're earning more stable coins like USDT. But yeah, I ended up having to do inverse perpetual to like lower my average because I was worried about this level, and we ended up breaking it, and that's when I boycotted it. Looking at it now, we're at 20 cents. You can see, pull a fixed range from here to here. We got a supply concern here that we're yet to mitigate. Well, we could include the lower area. We'll mark this area here. Send it back. There we go. So we're at the value area low. It's a young value area. Doesn't look like there's not very much volume here, so it's highly influenced. So what I would be preparing for is, hopefully, rather than preparing for a long here at a value area low like I normally would, I'd expect deviation lower. So if we come down to this area, you could prepare for potential SFP. That seems to be the theme of the day, like SFP, prepare for an SFP. Every asset's kind of got that. Most of them have that kind of posture where you can prepare for that kind of confluence. So yeah, here, set your pre-alarm for 16.6 to notify you of when price action is coming down to potentially sweep that liquidity. So you're not staring at the charts all day. If you're an SFP trader and that's the only thing you trade, then you just need, all you gotta do is set alarms from these kind of highs or these lows or these potential highs and prepare for the SFPs. So yeah, here we're gonna wait for an opposing change character or a swing failure pattern, and you take action on whatever one you prefer, and then you can target the value area high, but you're gonna have to be very mindful of the value area low, potentially acting as resistance. So think of this as potential TP1. If we get that opposing change of character, you listen, exit, and come back up through here. We're actually just realized we're looking at the daily time frame. If we go back to the 15 for a second. Yeah, look at that. You can't even trade it. This is Coinbase. Am I looking at a dead chart? I'm looking at a dead chart, aren't I? Yeah. A second. So let's look at Bybit. Let's see. I'm about to make a fool of myself if I'm right. I've got a feeling that this is a dead chart. Yeah. Yeah, that was a dead chart, guys. Yeah, okay. Well, let's start that over. Yeah, I forgot when they rebranded to POL, they changed their ticker. It broke that chart. So now this is the history of the asset based on after the branding. This is one of the reasons why I don't like it when assets change their ticker or rebrand like that, because it breaks all of their charts. So you can't look at historical data properly unless you were to like create a split chart like this, and you have one side be the older price action and the current side be the newer price action. So I recommend splitting your charts if you end up having those kind of scenarios where you're trading an asset that does crap like that. But yeah, same kind of scenario though that we're like based on what we were talking about before. Got here fixed range pull from that moment. And then, yeah, SFP level here. And zoom in on the hourly, probably, yeah, much better candles. So that's like a daily setup down here. Looking at the value area low, yeah, we could, it makes more sense now to prepare for potential longs in this area based on the lower time frame data, but higher time frames, it looks like it could keep going down lower. So we could get that short-term burst back up to this supply concern here on the 15-minute. While be mindful of the POC as well along the way up. But yeah, right now we don't really have that much posture. We're building a bit of a rounded top right here. Those are typically bearish, signs of low confidence. And our key levels here. So if we break this key level, we would likely be falling down to here. Well, that is MATIC. I hope that helps you out. So I think that we're more likely positioned to come down and then potentially get that change of character occurrence here on the higher time frames, and then rotate back up to potentially hit this POC, watching out the value low, but targeting the supply concern. And hopefully get a continuation from there. What are you guys talking about? Currently in your drinking years, find it funny all over the place. It's funny. Let's look at Cas here. Cas and Solana. After the Solana request, I do got to head out, guys. What's a dead chart, Kyle? A dead chart is when there's a couple of things that could cause it. It's when either A, you are charting an asset that has been delisted from that exchange. So for example, I'm looking at the Bitstamp chart. So if it gets delisted, it becomes a dead chart because it's no longer tradable on that exchange. Or if they rebranded, like MATIC did 3 times in the past 5 years, every time they rebrand, change their ticker, because changing your ticker is not a small feat in crypto. You pretty much have to relaunch your token, like relaunch, then pretty much like airdrop tokens, shit like that, because the ticker is like binded to the Solidity contract. So it breaks a lot of stuff. Even their own like if they have any automated systems, they pretty much have to rebuild them, replug it into a new contract, stuff like that. It's a big pain in the butt process. But yeah, those are like 2 main reasons that cause a dead chart. Then there's the term also you might hear as like a zombie chart. And if you hear the term zombie chart, then that's just telling you that's a zombie asset and that there's such a poor amount of liquidity that you can't even execute a trade on it. So for example, if the liquidity was at like $100 on both sides, so if it was like Bitcoin paired with USDT and there's only $100 in that pool, you can only trade a maximum of $100 per entry during that time. In my opinion, it's a red flag when they relaunch a token multiple times. I 1000% agree. It gives me the same kind of vibes as it's not the same. It's not the same, but it gives me the same kind of vibes as like in the stock market when they do splits to trick investors into thinking that it's like a lower price, even though the market cap hasn't changed. I think it's just a form of like tricking the youth or tricking the people that are new to the space into thinking that we aren't in an incredibly large downtrend and that quote unquote is a new asset, stuff like that. Because they're only going to look back to the active charts. Your crypto doesn't work. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Yeah, the IT crowd vibes there. All right, so Cas, next request. We get a good bounce off the VWAP. I'm hoping that we get up here. So that's where I'd rather short. Just don't take 10 years like you did yesterday. Man, we were waiting for so long for a confirmation. Cas. Look at this on the 4th. Okay. Update this fixed range. It's been a while since we looked at it. We're probably 75% away from the value area. Retesting this low as resistance. That's a bummer. There's this good rule with value areas that could help people in determining key levels to prepare for reversals. If you get a fib retracement tool and you pull it from the high to the low of the value area, don't look at the structure. Look at the value area from the value area high to the value area low. And there's equilibrium settings you can have that will allow you to prepare for potential reversals. So if you see a deviation of 50% from the highs or from the low, those are like typically one of the best areas to prepare for reversals, right? But if we deviate further from that, And especially if you start seeing it act as resistance like this, then it tells you that we're very likely not going to be coming back to that value area, and that we could be coming down to a new one down below. It's not always the case, but the probability of it definitely increases that we might not be returning to that value area. I would still, like, based on if you look around at the price action around here, I could see that we could potentially come down to this value area low if we were to come down lower, based on this value area data. I don't know why this is moved here. Let's just, like, right now we're bouncing off of its previous point of control. And there's this previous value high here. So this will help give us an edge in knowing if we're getting a continuation or not. And I'll show you how. So if we go delete this noise first. Let's zoom in on the 15. So here we're fighting against the VWAP, and we're getting support off this point of control. And we're technically right now confirming this value area high as resistance. We just technically confirmed it as resistance with this candle right here. We're getting a bit of a pullback because of the pairing influence from Bitcoin. But if we end up getting that, well, basically we got the lower low. So we're more likely now to actually approach this previous value area low here based on what just occurred right here with this break of structure, retest, lower low. That's a form of acceptance into a value area. So our probability of coming down here is much, much higher. To play it safe, because of like the tweezer reaction that we had, we could wait for a break of structure here, and then we would have more of a confirmation of it returning down. But yeah, here could be a good area of confluence to prepare for longs to go back into the value area high if we get that proper rotation down to the bottom here. So this, basically when we confirm this value area as resistance, it helped us determine that we're going to come down to this value area. And the fact that we just used this level as resistance is also suppressing the price into potentially getting us a full rotation down to this value area low. But we got descending triangle. It's looking, yeah, it's looking short-term bearish. So that's Caspa. Hopefully we get a turnaround, and then we get a full rotation back up to get acceptance back inside this value area. And if we get acceptance into value areas, it really helps you with knowing when to stay in your positions. So if we get like a break of structure within it, then we can start targeting the potential like to the value area high, while of course watching out for supply concerns and the point of control within your value areas and stuff. Well, yeah, that is Caspa. Out of all the assets that we looked at, this is like the messiest to try to trade. What was SPX was a good one. It's super clean. We did just technically do an SFP on SPX, grabbing this Wix liquidity here and closing back inside its active range. So we might actually see a run up to here at least. If you don't like the liquidity not being swept here, it's good to wait for that second potential sweep. So SPX was the cleanest. Hype was really good. Oh, we broke our key level on Hype. Got to bounce off the VWAP. So what would be a really good setup is seeing that lower low. Once you get that break of structure, the confluence would be that break of structure continuation after the break of the rising wedge and getting below that VWAP. And then you can use this high as your stop loss guard. And here is what it'll kind of look like. You would have, if we've fallen down right now, it'd be kind of nice. But yeah, you target here. This right now it's a 1 to 2.37. So hopefully it doesn't go too far up. Like our limitations, like roughly around here. Let's see what happens. But yeah, that's definitely a potential setup here, guys, for that short. Now that we got that change character occurrence, just need that confidence. The VWAP. The VWAP's in your face like that. Respect it. Wait till it breaks. And try to front run it off the high to low here. Be careful. Yeah, so if you get like a 3-minute change of character occurrence here, you could jump into a short, but you'll have to watch this as a barrier along the way if you're trying to front run this break of structure. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hype bearish now. Oh yeah, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, I guess I didn't read that just yet. No problem, Shanti. All right, Solana is the last one I could take a look at, guys, and then I got to head out. I got some cool things I'm trying to build. It's got open Solana. I looked at this on the 10th. Man, he got punished. That's a key area of interest here. Yeah, we had a. Yeah, it looks like the last time we were looking at was. Oh, 1 second here. Was here, where we had 2 opportunities that we were kind of preparing for. We had this short. Looks like a lower time frame, maybe the 15-minute. Quick SFP trade there. But yeah, we had the short. If we broke this level, we get a continuation down, watching out for the demand zone. Got the opposing chain, got a double bottom break, warning you to get out. That's like the kind of like the last thing we were watching. Delete that. We've got this massive head and shoulders posture. When you see like head and shoulders like this, when you look at the measurable target, you're like, no way, we're not going to hit that. And then we hit it. You're like, fuck. It's crazy. Yeah, here we are grabbing liquidity from the left-hand side here at 141.85. So we just swept up that liquidity here. Looks like we had it marked already based on a previous level because we didn't sweep it here last time. We added to it. But yeah, I got to clear up some of the noise here off this chart. But based on the previous price action here, we're hitting our head off of a previous value area low. It's looking a lot like everything else. Looks like you got a tweezer response, getting above the VWAP again. Bit of a rounded top price action. Our supply concerns way up here, just like Ethereum, right? Ethereum's got a lot of pairing influence over Solana. Then Solana controls a lot of stuff that goes on in Hype. Here, we got retest to the uptrending momentum. Look at the 5-minute. 5-minute clearer picture. So here's our break of structure level for a continuation. Right here, we have the confluence of having the VWAP on our back. So what we kind of want is kind of similar to what we saw with Hype, with Solana, right? We want to see that break, jump in on that, stop loss guard above the high, target the lows right here. So yeah, looks a lot like Hype. I know that Solana is a part of, has a lot of pairing liquidity with Hype, so Solana might influence its movements a lot. Same kind of R&R, unfortunately, like a 1 to 2 roughly, which is just bare minimum what you need to be a profitable trader long term. But yeah, that is Solana. So if we were to go through everything that we went over before I have to head out, Solana is one of the ones that looks like it has the safest price action for trading. Not safest, sorry, one of the safest out of all the ones we looked at. We've got Caspa wasn't a great one. Virtuals wasn't that great either. Well, we have some things that we compare for with virtuals, but actively right now, like in the immediate short term, nothing much that I would take that I would touch. But down here we compare for an SFP reversal. Up here we compare for a potential reversal back down. But again, like Solana would be my best choice out of that. Ethereum's looking like it's influencing pretty much everything. We got Polygon. SPX looking good for potential reversal. We did have like we mitigated some liquidity here, like newly added liquidity. So we could rush up to here, prepare for that change of character response. Out of all the ones, I think this one might be the biggest mover. Be more of a trend bound potential reversal. We got AVAX. That wasn't that great. But Hype was a good one too. Hype, I would recommend diving into the 3-minute time frame based on where we are right now. We're testing the high to the low Fibonacci level. So if we get a 3-minute opposing change character, it could be a front run to this break. But then you'd have to babysit the trade until we broke that level. So we'll see if this gets invalidated or not. But yeah, this is an area where you want to wait for that opposing change character. But we're pretty close to potentially invalidating it. We'd have to like come down pretty much now. And HBAR, I think, was another good one. No, it wasn't. Sorry. And yeah, we didn't get that retest. We'll probably have to wait for more structure now. Such a bummer. Okay. Well, I know what I'm preparing for with Bitcoin. You guys will definitely see a signal off Bitcoin if we have these confluences play out. If it meets all my rules, I'll jump in and let you guys know how I'm preparing. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me in the Discord. I've got to head out. Like and subscribe, help me grow and help more people find me so we can teach more people. This is a place where you can ask any question you want. Yeah, beginners or advanced questions, doesn't matter. All right, guys, you have a great day and I'll see you in the Discord. Bye.